Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today, I want to talk about references. I personally always use references when I'm drawing, creating some concept art, or even just sketching. So, I always recommend using references. A lot of people feel that using references can sometimes be cheating, um, but that's where how you use your references makes a difference. I never copy a reference as it is. I use references for very specific reasons. If I know I am designing a building, I will look at the story. I will see what I want the building to look like, have a general idea, and then look for references so that it helps the concept art look realistic enough to be placed in the world that you're creating. So these designs were done for a library. This library was going to be in India, and the whole idea for the library was that girls weren't allowed to go to this library to study, and the main character for this project was a girl, and I wanted it to look larger than life. So that was the main idea for this. In my undergrad, I had gone for a study tour and we had visited Khajuraho temples. And that's where actually I picked up these. This was actually a postcard booklet, and I knew I would someday use them as references. So um, when I thought about the concept, I thought this specific temple was going to be the perfect reference for me. So I'm just going to lay these out quickly so you can see all of them. I'm just going to put this one here. If you look at all these references, not necessarily looking into too many details, because in person there's a lot of beautiful in detail carving, but that's not what I wanted out of these. If you can see all of these horizontal lines here, it looks like stacks of books, and that is what I wanted to get out of this reference image. And if you look at the entire structure as a whole, it looks very majestic, very palace like, and that is what I wanted my library designs to look like. So let's quickly look at the designs I made. So these were obviously shortlisted out of all the hundreds of little sketches I had done. But if you see, what I have mainly done in all of these designs are these lines, which is what I very specifically wanted out of these reference images. I wanted them to look, or at least represent, stacks of books. Another thing that I really liked about this design was these little structures, these circular structures that I have on the top. So for example, in this one, if you can see here, it looks like a beautiful stack of books almost. You know, it's like stacked up in like a nice round architectural design. So that is something I really wanted to incorporate in my concept. So if you see most of them, I have that. I think in the end, I decided this was my final design. Like you see, if this was the temple I was looking at, I obviously took a little bit from everything, but I cut out the steps because I wanted to do like a side view, so the steps were here. But what I mainly wanted to get was the majestic sense of it, what I thought looked like books, stacks of books, which is what I wanted to get. So when you're using references, you want to think about very specifically what is it that you want your design to look like, and find references accordingly. Another thing I would say is that don't get bogged down by the details, because once you start drawing these very minute details, you lose the design sense as a whole. So you don't want to do that. When you're looking at references, try to squint your eyes and look at the picture as a whole from a distance, and you will get more out of it, because especially when you're designing buildings and architecture, it really comes in handy if you're looking more at the structure and what you want the overall design to look like. The next thing I want to talk about is taking your own reference pictures. Sometimes you don't find everything you are specifically looking for online. So, the best way to make your artwork look realistic, not literally in the sense of a photorealism, but represent reality in the terms of how shadows work, in terms of how light reacts, how colors respond to each other. You want to just see what the anatomy looks like in a specific pose. The best way to do that is just go ahead and take your own pictures. So, the next image I'm going to show you is also from the same project, and I'll show you how and why I took my own pictures and what that did for my artwork. So, for this painting, I wanted to find out how light would work. In this case, the character walks into the room and she accidentally discovers this magic book, which was kept covered in a cloth that had these tiny mirrors. And I wanted to see specifically that when you take a little lamp close to tiny mirrors, how the light would react. Now, obviously, I had to exaggerate the reaction of the light, but I took the following photo to see how light reacts when it's hit on tiny mirrors. So I took a lot of reference photos. I tried with candles, I tried with a little lamp, I tried all of these different angles, and this was the one that had the best impression on the wall, which is exactly what I needed. So I took the reference, I saw what light does in real life, and then exaggerated it enough to fit my needs. For this painting, I wanted to see how light reacts when the character was sitting with the lamp underneath her blanket and trying to read the book. I wanted to see the light shapes that come up, how much of it actually affects the environment. So, for this, I made my niece pose for me. I made her wear the dress that I thought the character would probably be wearing, have a little book in front of her, see how the light would react. Now, by this time, I wasn't sure exactly what the pose would be like, but the main purpose for this reference picture was to see how light behaves. So you can see how I took my own reference pictures for both of these paintings to get a clear idea for how lighting works for these two specific examples that I wanted. I hope this video has given you a good idea of how I use references and hopefully will help you to use your references more correctly. So, this was part one of my how to use references, and next week I'll be back with a new video, part two of how to use references. So, thank you guys for watching. And like always, if you enjoy the content of my channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with your friends. And I'll see you guys back here next week. Bye.